I'd like to welcome everybody out to the May 5th, 2025 meeting. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Again, I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight. Does any member of council have a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest in regards to any item on the agenda? So please state at this time.
I do not, Mayor.
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir.
All right, moving on. Approval of draft agenda. Does anybody have anything that needs to be changed? If not, do I have a motion to go with the agenda as drafted?
So moved.
Second. All right, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
General council discussion. Does any member of council have anything they'd like to bring out?
Yeah, I got a couple of things,
Go
Mayor.
ahead.
Okay, just like to talk just for a moment, update on communications regarding the parking plan and paid parking. We've tried to make an addition to our communications here to improve the communications regarding the paid parking plan and paid parking plan and the parking plan. As we move forward into implementation phases, the implementation phases of the parking plan and paid parking, and to better communicate with our citizens regarding parking during the implementation phases, we've set up a section of the website. We're going to try to rely on our website a little bit that is dedicated to parking. It's a new initiative to enhance communication. I'd like to thank Kimberly for her help in doing this. Her time and her effort in assisting us was greatly appreciated. And of course, my partner Charlie here for lending his feedback and support. The goal of this initiative is fourfold. One, to answer citizen-generated questions regarding the parking plan and paid parking. Two, to announce updates regarding the island parking plan. Three, to have a bank of questions and answers that citizens may refer to from time to time. And four, to communicate with our citizens more often than just once per month at council meetings. So again, looking at answering questions, looking at announcing updates, looking at having bank of questions there people can refer to, and to communicate with our citizens. If interested, we ask you to periodically check for parking information by going to our town website at sunsetbeachnc.gov. Now, if you don't know how to do that, if you can't remember that, just Google Sunset Beach and you'll see it'll come up, the Sunset Beach website. On the home page, look for a tab labeled Beach Parking. This will take you to a page where you'll find a link in red to frequently answered questions regarding the parking plan and frequently answered questions regarding paid parking. To press the link, it'll take you to three separate choice of three bars: parking plan, frequently answered questions; paid parking, frequently answered questions; and island parking updates. Simply to press the chosen bar to open the topic that interests you at the time. If for any reason you may want to ask a question regarding the parking plan, paid parking, or parking updates, please email, and this is the usual email we have, publiccomments@sunsetbeach.gov. Publiccomments@sunsetbeach.gov. sunsetbeachnc.gov. Thank you very much. We hope that makes it possible for better, speedier communication between our citizens in town regarding parking and paid parking. The second thing, Mr. Mayor, is just a thank you to the ERC committee they had their Greenway Festival and they celebrated Earth Day, Arbor Day on Saturday at the town park. It was a bigger and better event than they've had in the past. Again, congratulate the ERC committee for their work, and of course, our events coordinator, Amy Goodrich, who did an excellent job expanding the whole thing from previous years. Two highlights of the event. One was a dedication of a live oak to Amelia Jones. I don't know if you know Amelia Jones. She was a lady who walked the town a lot and spent an awful lot of time in the park, greeting people, the animals there, and so on. And there's a plaque by the tree for her, and that was a wonderful thing. We had her daughter here, and it was very nice. And secondly, we had and this was interesting to me, that we had the Seabiscuit Wildlife Rehab Center brought 2 pelicans to release into the intercoastal waterway area. And that was very interesting to see how they paired up and how they actually finally flew, and everybody sort of gave them a standing ovation. So it was a really nice event, and thank you to the ERC committee, and thank you for Amy for a job well done. Thank you.
Can I add one thing to that?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
I think, wasn't the tree committee inaugurated at that event? That was
No.
the first event. Were they not there?
Yes.
Not participating?
No.
Okay. I was out of town. I
Not
missed
that I
that.
saw. Not that I saw.
Go ahead, Charlie.
I want to congratulate the Old Bridge Historical Society on a successful strawberry and wine festival. It was, a lot of people had a great time out there. And I want to recognize our Public Works Department. Under Matt's guidance, they've done all this work on getting the parking ready, plus their regular duties. These guys really go out there, and I think they're probably our lowest paid employees. So I want them to know that that we're grateful for all that they do. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
You got anything? Good, Mr. Potter?
Nope, I'm okay.
You got anything? Mike, I just following up with that about the parking thing where you're talking about our citizens, having that database, that's good. But what are we doing to be able to reach out to all the tourists that we're fixing to have here? Because I think that's when our mass confusion is going to come in. These guys are coming in, and a lot of them don't go on Facebook. They're not attached to these pages. They're not going to know what's coming on. So what is our plan looking forward to being able to get that out there so we don't have a lot of issues coming up?
That's a different one, like a difficult one. Like the police talk every week. There's a new group of people that come to the island unaware, and people coming back to the island have been here before, unaware of the changes. We talked about getting some information to the rental companies, getting some kind of a document to the rental companies that they can pass out to their renters. And that's something we could work on for sure.
We definitely need to do something.
Yeah.
Because, we've not even started tourist season. You see the mass confusion that's going on. So it'd be definitely to the best interest of our town to have some information out where these people do know what's going on.
We could do that to the rental companies. I don't have a problem with that. That's a good idea.
Thank you.
One alternative might be to work with the police department for your webpage is well read, and it's a good place for people to get parking information because it is so well read and watched. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
We don't have nothing else.
Thanks for the question. That was good.
We don't have anything else. We'll be moving on now to our public hearings. First up is our public hearings and zoning map amendment. I'll be calling on you, Mr. Satterfield, in just a second, but in the meantime, do I have a motion to open the public hearings?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Mr. Satterfield, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Tonight, we're here to have a public hearing to consider a rezoning request submitted by the Old Bridge Historical Society. They are the owner and the applicant of the property. Their request is a rezone of their site located on Shoreline Drive between 109 Shoreline Drive West and the residential home located at 203 Shoreline Drive West. From MR2 mainland residential to MB1, which is mainland business. Property to the immediate east of this site is where the Old Bridge Museum currently is housed and located. Properties to the north are zone MR3 and MR3 conditional zoning. To the south are MR2 and CR1. To the east, MB1 as previously stated, and to the west, MR2. This is a straight rezoning, so all uses that are allowed in the MB1 district, if approved, would be allowed on the site. The planning board did hear this at their meeting in April, and their recommendation is approval. Staff also recommends approval of this. I would like to point out one typo in the staff recommendation in the last sentence. It should say rezoning to MB1 and not MB2 there. I apologize for that mistake.
Where is this, please?
Under staff recommendation on page 4,
Page 6 of the agenda.
page 6 of the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay.
The last sentence where it says rezoning to MB2, it should rezoning to MB1.
Got it.
But otherwise, staff recommends approval of this rezoning to MB1, and the planning commission voted unanimously to recommend approval as well.
Floor is open if anyone would like to speak in regards to this. Does any member of council have anything in regards to this?
I
do.
think it's,
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Is the purpose for parking lot or moving the entire museum over? Exactly what are we doing? Because I'm worried about the property owner that would be adjacent to that property.
Ultimately, the property owner will want to move their museum to this site. But keep in mind, this is a straight rezoning, so all uses that are allowed in the MB1 could locate there.
Yeah.
And I have to say that as a planner, I have to provide that information. The property owner at 203 Shoreline was attending the planning board meeting, and they spoke in favor of this request.
Okay.
You had some, John, go ahead.
but all the property owners adjacent did get notified,
Yes, sir. They were all notified.
and nobody
signs-
objected.
Signs have been posted. To my knowledge, no one has objected.
All right. You got some, Charlie, go ahead.
Long before I thought about running for council, I attended all the meetings. And I remember when Ann Bokelman, Karen Dombrowski addressed the council with this idea of saving the old bridge. Everything went through, and they do an awful lot of good for the town. And I fully support this change.
Ron, do you see anything from the discussion the planning board had to your research on all this that could be any problem looking forward, or are you good with the whole thing?
No, we're good with it. The planning board did consider MB2 as an option, as a potential option, and that was the reason why I had MB2 as the staff report inadvertently. But all in all, they believe the MB1 was appropriate. One, it is adjacent to the existing MB1. Also, the MB1 allows some residential mix in there. When they looked at the commercial uses that are permitted in both districts, they felt like that the MB1, they didn't have any potential negative impacts on it. They keep in mind too that along that western property line adjacent to the residential, they're going to have to meet our buffer standards and lighting standards and so forth. So they felt like the town had appropriate development regulations to make sure that the property did not negatively impact
Excellent.
that residential property.
Good.
Go ahead, sir. I think it's a great application. The Old Bridge Historical Society does an awful lot for this town. There's a lot of history in this town that they work hard to tell our visitors about, and there's a lot of great history to this town. The site that they're on right now is zoned MB1, and the present owner of that site, which is not them, wishes to do something else with it along the MB1 uses. If the neighbors that have all looked at what the Historical Society is doing, what they've done so far, all were in agreement that would be a good thing. Part of the new property that they're moving to, that this rezoning is a part of, are wetlands. And to take we'll call it the skeleton of the old bridge and put it over the wetlands is going to be a very appropriate application for that site, and something that we can all enjoy. Also, because they are a nonprofit, they can't just turn around tomorrow and sell that site to somebody else. If they are become defunct, that property would go to another nonprofit, which would be at their discretion. So there is some safety, if you will. A Hooters is not going to be built there next year.
All right, Christian. Somebody said something. Thought I heard one of y'all.
Nope.
All right, we don't have anything. Nobody came up. So do I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on next, public hearing text amendment, political signs, Article 3.
Going to vote on it. The idea was to vote on it.
Are you going to vote on it now?
And
Okay.
I believe we're going to vote on that tonight. And remember that this is, as a rezoning, you still need to read a consistency statement. That's
Yes.
in your packet.
Y'all have the consistent session. So what is the pleasure of council in regards to the Old Bridge Society?
I'll make a motion that we rezone the subject property, ID number 256HB031, from MR2 mainland residential to MB1 mainland business. Read.
Read the consistency.
I got to read
Are
consistency.
you done?
The town council hereby approves the proposed zoning map and finds that it is inconsistent with the town's comprehensive plan, 2017 plan of Sunset Beach land use plan, as there are conflicting policies that relate to various aspects of proposed zoning request within the comprehensive plan. And two, that it is reasonable and in the public interest because existing commercial zoning exists in proximity to the subject property, and the amendment will allow for the relocation of a commercial use onto the subject property that will not negatively impact the surrounding residential area, in accordance with the goals outlined in the 2017 land use plan.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Moving on now, public hearing text amendment, political signs, Article 3, Section 341C1S. This time to open up this public hearing. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Public hearing. All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Public hearing is now available for anybody in regards to the political signs that we're bringing up. Floor is open if anyone would like to speak. All right, if not, does any member of council have anything?
I want to know why we're making a change different than the state already has.
I didn't let you read your thing, but it's fine because I think you read it all last time. But go ahead. You want to address him, Mr. Satterfield, and give him an answer to his question?
What the proposal is to revert the political sign. Political signs are allowed to be posted back to the previous standards prior to the 2023 zoning change. So in this case, the code would be reverted back to where political signs would not be permitted in the town rights of way. The reason for the change is I believe it was brought to the manager's or administrator's, town administrator's attention that we needed to revert back. Is that correct, Ms. England? And so we processed it, went to the planning board. The planning board did recommend denial by a 4-to-1 vote. The staff has certainly brought this to council to vote on. But
Excuse me, Lisa, what's the issue in regard to?
Some of the council members asked me to take it to the planning board. Before it was, political signs were not allowed in the town right of way, and the council was not aware that this change was made.
So we're going to have different rules for signs on town streets and different rules. The state has different rules for their state, correct?
Yes, and it was that way before as well.
That's exactly right.
And
Yeah.
To
my
be clear-
question is, why do we have one different than the state?
Here's what I understand, Michael, is that and it was a problem in the past where the local roads, town roads in developments and so on, people were allowed to post signs in the right-of-ways in front of people's houses that may be inconsistent with what that person wants in front of their house. Which
Not consistent.
not consistent.
Yeah.
Yes, not consistent. I said inconsistent. And that caused problems because you cannot take, by law, you cannot take that sign out. So what the town did, I don't know how long ago the town did this, it's been forever that I know of, that the town said no signs in the local right-of-ways, but the state has their rules for the state right-of-ways. So that's what we did. That's what they did a long time ago. It's worked very well, by the way, over time, with no arguments, no problems, no people going after one another or anything like that. So just wanted to revert back to the old system, which worked very well.
And the people putting in political signs are going to know which are the state roads versus which are the town roads, or which are not even state or town. They still remain with the homeowners associations.
Yeah.
In the past, they have.
Yeah.
I mean-
Yeah, the past has been no problem, basically.
I mean,
That's been no
looking
problem.
at like Rice Mill is not part of it. It's not part of the city
Mhm,
or the town,
mhm.
and
It's
so
not a-
therefore, where does it fit into this whole thing?
It's not a town road.
It's not a town
It's a
road.
part, it's a part of the town.
Yeah.
It's just not a town road.
Yeah.
It's not a
Being part
town
of the town, it'd
maintained
be the
road.
same rule.
That doesn't
rules.
have anything to do with the right of way.
But
as proposed, the amendment would impact just town.
Mhm.
Town maintained roads.
Okay, so that on Rice Mill, they could put it on within the right of way on Rice Mill, for an example, which is
That's
not
what
a,
he said.
okay.
Mhm.
Sounds confusing to me.
The mayor, comment?
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
I think I was on the planning board when we were redoing the UDO, and the sign, there's a couple of UDO articles which are extremely convoluted and confusing. Fences happen to be one of them, and signs happen to be another one. And as we went through from a planning board status to try and make the signs reasonable, understandable, we came up with the wording. Subsequent to that, I've changed my view. And my view is that I live on a town road. I really don't want somebody putting a sign in the right of way in front of my house for whatever, particularly a campaign sign, that maybe is something I disagree with. And Mike, you had indicated how are people supposed to know the difference between state roads and town roads. I think it's pretty straightforward. We've got a half a dozen major thoroughfares through our town that are state roads, and the state controls that right away. On private roads that are owned by the town and maintained by the town, I think it is a reach to have anybody be able to go and put a sign in front of my house that appears that it's my sign, even though it may be in the right of way.
Doesn't that same thing affect the commercial property people along 179? For an example, let's say, just say Sunset Dental. Somebody can slap a sign in their right of way. And
yes, they can. Yes, they can.
And therefore everybody would say, oh, he's obviously for this candidate.
I would think a commercial property versus a residential property is different. However, you can make the same argument for Main Street on the island.
Yeah.
But to me, I think what we're trying to do here is control what we can control. We cannot control what the state has in their rules and regulations for their right of way.
If the state Main Street is a state road, that means that people could put their signs in the right of way
Yes.
in front of the houses
Yes.
on Main Street.
Yes.
But we can't control that. What we're trying to deal with here is things that we can control, which are which are town maintained streets, which are the vast majority of streets and roads within Sunset Beach.
And so if you want to put it in front of somebody's house and it's on a town road, you really have to go up and ask the person who lives in that house whether it's okay to put that particular sign in front of their house.
Well, we're saying you can't put it in there, period.
Well, if you put it up in their yard, you have to put it up in the yard to move it in.
You can
But
put
you
it in the
still
yard.
you have to ask them for permission to do that.
This only
Yeah.
deals with the right of way,
Yeah.
but if you're going to
Yeah.
put a sign in somebody's property,
Yeah.
that property owner controls whether that sign is going to be up or not. We're just talking here about the right of way,
Town right away.
the town right of
Town
way.
right of way.
Exactly. Thank you, Mayor.
There was nobody come up on that. Do I have a motion to close this?
So moved.
moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right,
Just again,
they've got to read it.
regardless of your action for or against.
Y'all
we
need
do
to read the consistency statement.
Don't we need to
So
vote?
whoever made the motion does the consistency station when we get to that. All in favor of closing it? We
Aye.
didn't close it.
Yes.
All right. Now, what's the pleasure of council in regards to this?
I would like to make.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No,
No, you're doing it fine.
I think
I'll defer to you.
I think this is the motion. I move to tell me if this is right, Lisa. Now, move to disallow political sign placement in town right of ways during election season. Is that
No.
No.
good enough or not?
Yeah.
You read the first, under purpose, read the first line.
That's what I did.
Okay.
Amend the section. Okay, 3.41.c.1.s to disallow political sign placement in the town right of ways during election season. Okay.
You got a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. You need the consistency.
Consistency statement.
Want me to read that?
One no.
Oh, no.
Go.
Okay. The town council hereby approves the proposed amendment to the United Development Ordinance and finds that it is neither consistent nor inconsistent with the town's comprehensive plan 2017 Town of Sunset Beach Land Use Plan is there are no specific policies pertaining to political signs, and 2, that it is in the public interest.
Go ahead, Mr. Boswell, you had something you wanted to
I
say?
said.
He
you
voted
took-
no.
Voted
Okay,
no.
you voted no, okay, okay. All right. Moving on now, public comments on agenda items. Does anyone have any public comments on an agenda item tonight? Yes,
It's 4-1.
Mine sort of has to do with the budget. Is that okay right now? Because it's on there. Okay.
please.
Christine,
Stacy,
yeah, Christine Bauman, 417 40th Street. The reason why I'm here tonight is I put in a budget request back on 4/8. I filled out the form asking for a parking study as recommended in the January 30th NCDOT letter to the town of Sunset Beach. I didn't hear anything back. I watched your budget meetings. I didn't hear that it was discussed at all, although I did hear discussions about other areas in the town that are concerned about having to walk on the roadway because people are worried about getting hit by vehicles. So I want to be sure that you got this, for one, because I don't think you did. The estimated cost, depending on the scope of a study, would vary, and the estimated savings are priceless. And here's why. If we look at the rollout and how this has been, you've got a feel for the staff and how much work has been redone. Just a little while ago, you had an issue with communication. How are we going to communicate this to people? If we would have done this at the beginning and had a parking study that looks not only at where you can park cars, but also pedestrian safety and traffic safety, it would also look at things like communication. We wouldn't have these issues. We're going to have all these people coming across, and there is a changeover. We know that. There's going to be a lot of confusion. You're going to need a lot of good signage. I would recommend that maybe the council would want to volunteer and be parking ambassadors and come on Saturdays when there's a changeover of people and come and sit out in a tent and have a vest on and walk around and help people and guide them. I think that'd be a great idea for our town. Or maybe you can get volunteers to do it. Another reason why I'm here too is because I was asking for the parking study because you've chose to move forward with the parking plan. I think it'd be beneficial to review the outcomes you have so far of the recent parking committee's work. It wasn't a study. There are not formalized traffic studies. The one on North Shore, in fact, was done in May, and that's not a good case scenario. Even Ben Hughes from the DOT says it should be a worst case scenario. I think that a parking study would understand true demand, improve safety, support equitable access, protect residential areas, enhance economic impact, plan for sustainable growth. We're growing. We're huge. We're getting big, 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 big. Our demand is not going to go away. We need to nip this in the bud, and we need to do it right away. And that's why it's important to get some additional experts in to sort of look at what's been done. Maybe there's things that we're missing. Maybe there's things that we can do better. I also have a petition signed by over 550 stakeholders. That's 550 stakeholders. Those are residents, property owners, business owners, and visitors. I think you need to pay attention to that and listen to what people are saying, because people are not happy with the way things are going. You guys know this. You hear this. Mike hears from me a lot. I'm going to continue to send photos, but I promise I'll send date and time so you can figure out who needs to do what where. So that's the important thing. I'd like to make sure that you get this as part of the budget. People are asking for other items that they should be fundraising for. This has to do with public safety, and I'm going to ask that you approve something like this. And there's probably grant money available. I think Ms. Anglin would probably know that. And I want to thank all the town's workers for all the work they put in on this, because the amount of rework is unbelievable. You're an engineer, you understand this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
You got something on the agenda item? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're more than welcome. I was just making sure so we can stay on track. Give her just, if you will, get her 1 second. That way she can. So I want it to be quiet for you to be able to speak. All right.
Good evening,
Thank
Mayor,
you. Yes, sir.
council members. My name is Ignacio Marino. I live at 802 Riverside. The 2025-26 draft budget has a line item for $875,000 in apparent anticipation of a partial collection of the dredging special assessment. If this is meant to indicate that the intention of this council is to proceed with imposing the assessment on the few property owners that abut the canals I again implore this council to reconsider this action. The legal standard is being adopted as flawed. The imposition of this assessment without having had the prior support of the affected property owners and without the existence of a special taxing district is inherently flawed. The court transcripts showed that the judge and the town attorney agreed that the special assessment statute does not apply as it currently is drafted. Further, the Senate bill for the tax district for dredging cannot be set up and used to pay for completed projects. Both are prohibited and illegal and unethical to use. The town should avoid knowingly violating the law. Furthermore, the town is choosing to make a few select property owners responsible for the removal of sediment that the entire town is depositing into the canals. The town is clearly using the canals as part of the stormwater management system. I have some photographic evidence. May I provide it to Kimberly?
You can.
That the entire community is benefiting from the stormwater being redirected into the canals. Yet this system also redirects sediment that impacts the health and navigational ability of the same canals. If this special assessment is solely to be placed on the backs of the few select property owners along the canals, it is a question of basic principles of fairness. In closing, I reiterate that if you charge the canal owners, you are knowingly doing something wrong. This is not how the court has interpreted how a special assessment should be implemented. The statute you're relying on is on the record with your attorney and the court agreeing that it was not valid. An appropriate special taxing district, which is required, does not exist and can now not be used, created and be used for a completed project. Nevertheless, a basic issue of fairness is also apparently not being considered, and that is that the town is benefiting by dumping stormwater into the canals along with the sediment that is being created by that stormwater. You need to remove this item from the budget as a stated assessment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir. Budget item, yes, sir.
Kevin Armstrong, 806 Riverside. Thank you all. Appreciate the time
I'm
to talk.
sorry, I didn't get your name.
Oh, Kevin Armstrong, 806 Riverside.
Thank you.
Yeah, I want to reiterate what Tony was saying, that the assessment, we ask you to remove that assessment from the budget because you're assuming that you're going to be able to get that money. And we think we have a very good case that you won't be able to do that. So it's unfair to the town to put it in the budget when it's not going to be available for all the reasons that he stated. So we're just going to ask that you strike that because y'all have said in our last meeting that you were going to vigorously look at how this happened, why the dredging wasn't completed properly, all the paperwork. And as far as I know, that hasn't happened as yet. So until we have that vote, it doesn't seem like we have the money that's in the budget. So we ask you to strike it for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else on agenda items only? All right, if not, been moving on to our consent agenda. The 2025, March 3, 2025 regular meeting, the April 7th, 2025 regular meeting minutes, the April the 11th, 2025 workshop minutes, the April 25th, 2025 workshop minutes, the monthly reports for March 2025 for the police, fire, finance, building inspections, and public works. Does any member of council have any questions or any concerns regarding any of this?
I have a couple of small edits
Go ahead.
for the minutes
Go ahead.
that don't change the substance.
Go
And
ahead.
I'll give that with Kimberly
Okay.
tomorrow.
Mayor?
Anything else? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Kim does an awesome job at keeping track of the banter that goes back and forth here, particularly during budget hearings, because we're talking at the same time. We're trying to understand what's going on. Kim, thank you.
Anything else? If not, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any of the staff that doesn't have anything else, you're welcome to leave. Thank y'all. Appreciate y'all. Next up, Town Administrator Report. Just give him just a second to get out, and you can go ahead with yours, okay?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things for you tonight. Hurricane season is coming up fast, June 1st through November 30th. Passes are going in the mail later this week to all island property owners, with the exception of vacant lot owners. Residents are encouraged to review the emergency preparedness information on the website and to get your evacuation kits together. I have submitted the pre-applications for the repair and replacement of the walkways located at 5th Street, 7th Street, and 32nd Street to the state this week, actually last week. We will know by late May if we are one of the towns chosen to receive grant funding, and we'll be able to submit the final applications in late July. This month, the summer concert series begins Wednesday, May 28th, with the North Tower Band leading us off this year. The concert schedule is available on the town website in the community section. And I echo Councilman Hargraves. The Green Wave Festival was held yesterday, which is Saturday, which is the ERC's version of Earth Day Arbor Day celebration. And the ERC did an awesome job with Amy's help in bringing that event to fruition. A couple of the projects that we are working on, Main Street parking survey work for east and west should be finished in the next week or so. Engineers will begin determining where parking spaces can be designated, and we will be meeting with property owners and NCDOT representatives once the site plans are finalized. The sidewalk extension project, which is the extension of the ADA compliant walkways from wherever they stop to the actual sidewalk on Main Street. We are completing that engineering work now and expect this project to go out for bids in July or August, with the council to award sometime in September or October for a winter project. The gazebo project is concerning the emergency response. I've met with the engineers regarding the reconfiguration of the gazebo parking lot to allow the emergency access lane to connect to Main Street. As it is right now, emergency responders have to go into the gazebo parking lot to access that emergency lane to get on the island, and we are looking at bringing that all the way out to Main Street. The Majestic Oak Park field work is nearing completion. The Kama high water line has been marked. The engineers have met with Chief Childress, and we will be adding a turnaround T for the trucks and dry hydrant piping for the pier and the boardwalks to make his job a little easier. And the Kama major application, permit application is almost finalized. And let's see, the 27th through 30th Street Stormwater project that's been going on for the last few weeks was completed at the end of last week. Hopefully that is going to do away with a lot of the flooding and standing water that was in that area, that those stormwater pipes are now finished. And I continue to have my office hours on Thursdays from 1 to 3, and I encourage the public to come and visit me. I'll answer any questions. And at the last council meeting, Councilman Posdale asked that I give a report on the net revenues and the expenditures paid by the town for the paid parking program. In March, we received a net revenue, and by net revenue, I mean Auto Connect is under contract for 30%. And so the net revenue is what the town has been paid. In March, we received $88,585. In April, we received $87,983 for a total for the 2 months of $176,568. And to date, we have expended $79,353.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
On the gazebo emergency access way, is the intention for that to be happening after the summer season or during the summer season?
No, after.
After the summer season. So, thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. England, can you give the citizens an update, or the people here, or whatever, in regards to the parking down there in front of the park? I noticed this week I actually received some emails that, there was some stuff going on. Can you go over exactly what was going on and what was the deal there? I mean, is this something that we've had to go back and pay for? Is this something that the contractor screwed up, or the person that watches over project? What was the issue with that? What's going on there in front of Dave's in the park there? The new park?
Yes, sir. The curbing has been shaved to just make it more accessible for the fire truck to be able to get in and out. And we have cut off a couple of the parking spaces to make that happen. And no, we have not paid any additional cost.
So that goes back to the contractors. They screwed up.
No, not really. Not really. It was just a design defect.
Right.
So we did have, before that took place, we did have the fire department make a test of turns into that area. Is that correct? Into that parking lane? Both from the near lane of Dave's and then from the middle lane?
Not before paving. There has always been an island there.
When they put the curbs in, the curb stops in. But it was determined that the trucks could make the turn. Chief,
Yeah, I
am
asked
correct?
Richard, remember, he came up and spoke and said he
Yeah,
could.
the trucks could make the turn by shaving the curbing down and changing the last 3 spaces from full size to LSV spaces. It just makes it a lot easier for the fire truck to make the turn from
Correct.
any part of Shoreline Drive coming in.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
So everything's completed now, I mean, other than them repaving or fixing it or whatever.
Other than the
On
landscape.
the other side there, where the boats come in and out, we're not gonna have any problems there. Everything's corrected now.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
All right. Anyone else?
The one thing I want to say about that parking thing, is I noticed it on Saturday, is before people would park, they'd back out into the traffic heading down to the pier. That's not going to happen this year because there's no parking with their back end facing Dave's. They'll be around the other way, so there'll be a less chance of fender bender.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
And-
There
and
was
wh-
an accident there over the weekend. That was no fault of the parking lot or anything. That did do a little bit of damage to some of the area up against the park, and that is being looked at now. Not really a whole lot of damage. More damage to the person's car than to themselves, but to our property. But it was their own fault.
With that redesign of the parking lot, we've changed where the food vendors for the markets and other events park.
Yes, sir.
Where are they going to park now?
The food vendors are actually inside the park between the restroom and the rope fence, just on the inside of the park.
And they back up to what they need for electrical.
And they back up to the electrical and the water that we
Yeah, I
installed.
was there the other day and it
before.
worked very well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I thought.
All right. There's
Thank you.
nothing else. We'll move on. Old business, ABC board budget request. I think you guys have went back and looked at this after the last time. I think there was a little bit of confusion. Didn't really understand exactly what they were talking about. I think everything's been sent to you now to go through. So if you have any questions in regards to this, if not, what's the pleasure of
I'd
council?
like to clarify what my issue was last time is, would the $50,000 have any impact on the ABC store contributions to the town budget? And it was only after the meeting that became clear that the ABC store for years have been paying $53,000 a month, a year for their mortgage. And so that's gone away. And so now they want to use that $50,000 for a capital improvement plan. And it has absolutely no impact on what they will give or will not give to the town.
Correct.
That would only depend on state of the economy and what their income is.
Correct.
So that was resolved.
And go ahead.
Question for staff. I guess really it's a budgetary question. The recommended action at the bottom of page 1 says, Council is requested to approve the Sunset Beach ABC Board retaining $50,000 annually for a restricted capital improvement fund. I would assume that the restriction would be that it is for expansion or buying a new property, that it would be more of a real estate as opposed to increasing salaries or something that is
It's capital.
Yes, sir.
different than.
It is just like one of our capital improvement projects or ordinances. When we put like the money that we're putting away in the capital ordinance for the fire truck can only be spent for that purpose.
Okay, but we call it a fire truck. Here, it is unnamed. I don't have a problem with it because I think this is a great idea to have a capital improvement fund. We should have more of them.
Theirs will be named. It's state law that it
Okay.
has to be named.
What if during budget season next year, we determine for some reason that we do not want to do it that year? For example, for the fire truck, we vote in $150,000 each year. It's a separate vote during that budget hearing. This right here is saying $50,000 annually for a restricted capital fund. What if we don't want to do it next year? What if we can't do it next year for some reason?
This isn't our money. This is theirs.
Yeah, let me give a little insight on that because I go to these meetings and I know a little bit about it. And this is what basically is said. This $50,000 that they asking to put like that is exactly what the state has asked them to do. In regards to the $50,000, if they wanted to spend $50,000 or $55,000, whatever, every year and redo the shelves or change everything in there every year, they could. Because that money it's run by the state, not by us. This is basically just a courtesy to us saying we want to put this in there where eventually if the town continues to grow and we get to that point, we're going to have something to pay for it instead of having to come up with it all at one time.
That confuses me.
We do have oversight over them. They submit an audit to me every year that our auditor also reviews, and it's part of our annual audit. You can also go back and look over through our audit. You can see their audit. Okay. So, because they have an independent audit every year that becomes part of ours, and so. We are part of their board. If we see issues, then we have a say in their board, or not we, I don't, you all do. And so there is oversight, and this is a good practice. This is best practice, and they're held to the same standards that we're held to as far as capital.
I mean, I agree that a capital improvement fund is a great idea for the ABC board.
Right.
The way it's just generally stated, if
that's
we're
just
not calling it a fire
and so
truck.
Because it's for capital, as they go through their budget, they don't have to submit their budget to us. As they go through their process, they're held to the same standards, and so as they go through that, they'll determine the need of their capital, and they don't have that's not for us to determine. That capital need is for them to determine, and as we get their audit and the auditor looks at it, if it's something that's crazy, then you can address it at that time, but they don't submit their budget to us.
Did the ABC board have to come to us for permission to do this?
For taking it and putting it towards capital, yes, because they're reallocating it.
But otherwise, we do not control the
No.
use of their money.
So is this their $50,000 then?
Yes.
Okay.
The only reason they're
It's
coming
because
to
it's-
us
I didn't
is because we get theirs.
understand
Becoming
that.
specified is there $50,000. They're specifying it as capital.
But it's
They
coming
want to
from them.
invest it into capital.
It's coming from them. It's not coming from our ad valorem taxes.
No,
But when we talk about a capital, and that's where I was confused, and we talk about
it's
a capital fund
theirs.
for the fire truck, that $150,000 is coming out of ad valorem taxes.
Correct.
So, okay, all right, and I guess where I'm confused is the ABC board has their own set of operational standards that the state controls. Okay, thank you. Thanks for being patient with me.
Of course.
And Tara, just what they could do with that money, by what the report told us, was they could use that, and that's why it's called restricted probably, for building improvements, expansion, land purchase, or relocation. So those are the things that they've got to stay within with that money to do. They do, okay.
So that wording travels with this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this fund.
Yeah.
Okay.
May I make a motion?
Yes.
You may.
If there's no more discussion. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Sunset Beach ABC Board retaining $50,000 annually for a restricted capital improvement fund.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, moving on next. We have Municipal Code Ordinance 9301, debris removal.
Lisa, can
Go ahead. Yes, go
okay,
ahead, go
thank
ahead.
you. Can you tell us what you'd like to see here? Just what would you be comfortable with in the wording? Because you didn't seem comfortable with the idea of this, the commercial landscapers are allowed to place storm debris in the right of way for collection by the town. That would be for any storm.
This came up during a budget meeting. And
Yep. Yeah.
Sorry. This came up during a budget meeting, and it was stated that commercial landscapers are not allowed to place storm debris in the right of way for collection by the town. And actually, the ordinance says that they are allowed right now. So the first thing I need to know is, do you want to change that ordinance?
I do not, and the reason is because when you read it clearly, it said, when you read it carefully, it is clear to me that storm debris, that's what we need to define, not whether a commercial entity can drag it out to the street for a customer. If it is not storm debris, in other words, it's not, and we have to identify what we're going to say is a storm event and how that's going to be defined by our town administrator. But in the normal course of business, a commercial landscaper, a commercial company should not be able to bring debris out and put it by the street. If they're contracting with somebody under the normal course of business, they should be contracting to carry it away. However, if it is a storm can create damage that I possibly cannot take care of myself, so I have to go out and get an independent third-party contractor to do it. And in a storm event, they should be able to, I think, drag it out to the right-of-way for pickup. But we have to define what storm debris is, and I submit that following any storm, and this is immediately as the sun is coming up in the morning following the storm, the fire department, the police department, and the DPW are all out. We are driving every street in this town, and we then report back to the town administrator the degree of damage or the degree of debris that has been brought out. We confuse it because we say a named storm. We have had named storms that were given a name that did not create much damage. We've had storms that were not named that created significant storm debris and damage. So I believe we should look at each storm event individually, make that analysis that as the sun is coming up in the morning, and then we announce to the town whether debris needs to be bundled or whether it can be brought out to, as would normally be the leaf and limb rules, or if it can just be dragged out to the street to the right of way for pickup.
And that's generally what happens. And,
No, it isn't.
Well,
I'm sorry, John. That's disrespectful for me to
Okay.
say it that way.
the town administrator or the mayor who declares the state of emergency has determined, and when that state of emergency is there, then the debris can go out. It doesn't have to be bundled usually. And at what point in time it needs to be bundled, then that announcement goes back out that it's time to resume that. What's happened at least one or two occasions on major storms in the past is contractors and people have taken advantage of doing major landscaping, removal of trees and things like that that were not storm damage. And I think that's where some of the damage is. I think the ordinance works and just should be left as it is without making a change. And we're covered storm debris. The mayor or the town administrator makes the determination of whether the bundle and bagging and links determinations are waived or not. And that works out pretty clear. It's worked out good in the past.
Anyone else?
Does it say right now then that the commercial landscaper cannot or are not allowed to place storm debris in the right of way for
Says
collection
they
by the
are.
town?
No, it says they are.
Says they are.
It says they are.
Okay.
Yeah.
What we're here to
I wanna
do
get that
today is
clear.
decide if y'all want to move that, change this ordinance, or do you want to leave it as written?
I would like to make a motion
Go ahead, sir.
that we leave the ordinance as it's written.
All right. Do I have a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
All right. Moving on, next, new business, draft budget ordinance, fiscal year 25-26, and request for a public hearing. Come on, Mr. Terry.
Good evening. So in the packet, you have draft budget worksheets with some the different things that the line items that we have come up with. We started our budget workshops this year on February 7th, and we've held a series of workshops up until tonight. In this packet, you will also have a draft ordinance. These are also available. These are available on the website as part of the agenda packet. There will be a copy after tonight in town hall. That is a paper copy that is to be able to review in town hall. The tonight is any questions that council has for me regarding what is in the packet, and then also to set the public hearing for public comment. Are there any questions from town council?
My question is, we had several comments raised about the budget, the 875,000, I think, whatever it is.
75,000.
Whatever the amount,
Oh, the
875,000
875, the
From the
dredging
dredging.
assessment.
dredging that were raised and concerns. So the first question is this the place where we should make a change on that? Because we also have planned a special meeting to present the whole history of the budget and what's going on and address these issues. So my question is, when should we be dealing with that very serious question?
So this is not set in stone. This budget is not set in stone. And if you have a meeting, you're saying that there's a meeting for the dredging assessment
I'll be calling a meeting, a special meeting for the dredging on the 14th, which is
Of
next
May.
Wednesday. Yes, next Wednesday at 6 o'clock.
And so what a possibility of what you can do is what comes from that. There can be you can add budget meetings. You can have another budget meeting. You can also have discussion the night of the council meeting when you have the public hearing.
So right now,
You
we're
do
just
not
calling
have to
for a
pass
public
it.
hearing.
Correct.
Basically, right now is all we're looking for is
Correct.
to set that date for a public hearing.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you can also, you do not have to pass the budget on June 2nd either. You can also set another meeting that night for another budget meeting. For anything that comes out of that public hearing or anything that comes out of the dredging assessment. This is just where we are at this point, and we have to have a public hearing for public comment.
So my point is, we will have a meeting that discusses in detail what's going on with the budget. And is Grady supposed to be there? Grady will be there. So this topic can be discussed in pretty much detail at that time. And
For the public,
and see where we
For
go
the dredging.
he's our town attorney, Grady Richardson.
On the 14th you're talking about.
Yes, yeah, on the
14th is basically a dredging meeting.
Yeah.
That's what that's going to be in regards to what y'all decide to do.
And that will give
There.
us ample time before June and even after June if necessary
Yes.
to have further meetings to resolve our budget.
Correct.
Okay.
The budget before us is the obvious question. It does not change the tax rate.
There is no
correct?
change in the tax rate.
In regards to the other citizen that asked a question, what is the pleasure of the council as far as that? Is that something you're going to set to look at in this public hearing? Are you going to address that then, or, what's your ideas on that?
What, be clear as to what.
You had another
the
citizen
parking
that asked
study-
about a
The
parking
Parking
study.
study, yeah,
That's
that,
another thing that was brought out tonight, that, we would have time, like I said, when we have the public hearing on June the 2nd, and we discuss everything there, we'll either vote that night to accept the budget or we won't. And if we don't, then we'll set a special meeting up later, as long as we get it done for the end of June, then we still have some time. But I was just asking, because there was two certain things that got brought out tonight, and just trying to address those for the citizens.
we do have money budgeted for professional services as well, and so that is something that you want to discuss. That can be part of that discussion as well. I do believe was part of the packet of budget suggestions that we had printed off, and absolutely, it can be part of the discussion. If there's any questions or if there's any discussion you want to have about that at the June 2nd meeting, or if we have another meeting, or if you want to move.
And there actually
forward
may
with
be
that
other
discussion.
things that public hearing, once the public has a chance to speak, there may
Yeah.
be some other things that can come out. So we don't have to actually go in on June the 2nd and say this is the budget at the end of that meeting. We do have an option for a few weeks to call for a special meeting so y'all have time to discuss things.
But to be clear, clarify this, Mayor, for me, please. The meeting on the 14th is
That is for
for
dredging.
dredging
That is for
only.
dredging, yes,
Okay.
sir. That is a special meeting about the dredging to see what y'all gonna do. And then we got something else on there you wrote, and there's something else is in regards to about the 4th Street thing, if it came up, that was on there. Yeah, and of course,
Yeah,
closed
closed
session.
session.
Okay.
Wait, we have a closed session on the
That,
14th.
that
Yes.
special meeting notice, I just didn't get it prepared
But it's
today.
at-
It'll go out tomorrow.
Closed session at 6 with the regular meeting at 7 for dredging.
It was, all that stuff was in your weekly report.
No,
I don't know if we put the times.
All right.
I don't have.
6 p.m. is what you put down for the special meeting.
Yes.
Six
Yeah,
starting at
it'll all
6
start at 6.
Okay.
Then
Yeah.
So the closed session will be after the meeting.
According to Grady's schedule, I guess we'll get that figured out. But in regards to that, are y'all comfortable with setting a public hearing for June the 2nd? That's what we're here to figure out.
Yes.
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 Do I have a motion to set the public hearing for this?
So moved.
All right. Do I have a second? Second. Any more discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I would think in the process of doing this, that on our June 2nd meeting with the budget related, that we have a specific item on the budget, on the meeting, to discuss the professional parking study, pros and cons, and where we stand. And so we have enough information out there so that we can make a decision on whether to go for a parking study, a professional parking study at that time, or we'll explain what's happened up heretofore to do that. But we address it at the meeting specifically on our topic. You comfortable with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
You'll be on the hot seat.
That's
So what's in it?
All right, I got a motion and a second on the floor. Any more discussion? Motion, second on the floor. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Next up, disposition of directive. We'll be looking to have the public hearing in regards to the budget on June the 2nd. As announced a while ago, we will have a special meeting on the 14th at 6 o'clock. In regards to the dredging, there's a closed session there, and there's maybe another little thing. We got to work out the details on it. Anything else the council needs on the disposition of directives?
Not here.
All right.
Yep.
If not, we'll move on to public comment time. If anybody has any comments on anything, please come up, state your name, address, 3 minutes, and go ahead and speak, sir.
Good evening again, Ignacio Marino, 802 Riverside Drive. As you pour over this draft budget that you were just discussing and you're going to discuss for June 2nd, I would like you all to remind yourselves that you're stewards of the public's money. This draft budget has $12.2 million in authorized expenditures being proposed. This is an increase of $1.6 million over last year's budget. That amounts to a 15% year-over-year increase in your proposed budget for the town. I would say that most of us don't have 15% cost of living raises in our incomes. And as stewards of our money and the town's money, you should look at this very closely as to how you allocate and spend the citizens' money. Because I think that is quite inappropriate to have that 15% jump year over year in your expenditures. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. Denise Carlisle, 1006 West Main. I didn't plan to say anything to you folks tonight. I simply came to listen. But I do want to commend Chris for standing up earlier and reiterating our concern and our request to have a professional parking study. We recognize that we had citizens that formed a group, but those folks are not professionals. And no matter how you slice it or dice it, we are paying the price for our lack of professionalism and responsibility towards your citizens. So please do take it's not too late to stop and do this and see, like Chris said, can we do something different? Is there something better? Is there a different way? And I want to thank you for the improved communication. Personally, I have emailed many emails. I have received a response one time. I have sent to Mr. Hargraves, Mr. Nern. I've copied all of you. I've had one response. And I just find that to be disappointing. I know you're busy. We're all busy. But to not respond to me as a property owner is just not, even if it's just to say, hey, Denise, we got your email. We're working on it. Look at the website. How hard is that? So thank you for what you do. It's not an easy job, but please listen to the people that are paying the money to run this town. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Nothing else? Anything else from the council? Not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.